The Price of Loving Him. Episode 4. We both looked down at the phone and saw another text message. The text message says, "Tomorrow I'll send you the place where we can trade your son for my wife." I looked up at Sebastian, who was reading the message. I mumbled, "He wants me in return for Miguel." My voice was barely audible. He looked at me after turning off the phone. "Not happening," he said right away. "I can't take the chance. I won't let my child suffer even more because of me. He's only 4 years old, and a little boy shouldn't have to go through all that pain. He has scars all over his body. I would rather have scars all over my body and be in pain every day than have my kid go through that. Sebastian, he's your blood and my blood. He's our little boy, and we can't let him suffer any more." My lips trembled as I said this. "I'll find another way, I already have men working on it." That was quick, he hasn't even talked to anyone yet. He must have seen that I was confused. "I have cameras in here. Trust me, they're working on a plan," he says. I just nodded. "Should we just wait? That's all we could do for now." He pours himself some whiskey. I wonder if he was able to be happy with someone else. I asked, "Did you find anyone else?" to change the subject or at least get my mind off the fact that my crazy husband has my son. He turned around and got quiet, which made me think he'd been with other girls, which I don't really care about. "It's okay, I haven't been with a girl since I left you alone in that house," he said. His eyes showed the truth, but I still didn't believe him. I don't understand why he has to lie. I laughed as I stood up, and then I started to walk to the door when he grabbed my arm. He pulled me back, and my chest hit his. My eyes followed his up to his, and his breath blew on my face. Those eyes, those stupid eyes. I hated them with every fiber of my being and how they made me feel. His hand let go of my arm, and my eyebrows scrunched up. It's hard but possible to figure out Sebastian, like finishing a Rubik's Cube. He chuckles dryly and says, "I'm telling you the truth, I can't even touch a girl without thinking about you. I can't even look at one because all I see is you and that smile. I see your blonde hair and those green eyes that I love so much." He let go of my arm and moved his hands to my cheeks. I hated you for so long. You've hurt me so many times that this time I thought there was no going back." I told the truth, and tears threatened to fall from my eyes, but I didn't let them. Sebastian asked, "How do you feel now?" He looked all over my face for a sign of how I felt. "I shouldn't forgive you, I should hate you," I said. To be honest, a part of me still does. Sebastian's hope fades quickly after I say those words. But most of me doesn't. I love you, even though you've made my life hell. And I hate it because you made me go through hell. I hate myself for that. I was a scared boy, not a man, because a man wouldn't have done that," he says. "I've grown, I've lived, and I've learnt. I just want you, and maybe that's selfish of me, but it's true. I don't know if that's good enough for me. I'm scared," I say. "I'm scared too, pumpkin." We looked at each other for a little while longer, taking in everything about each other. There was a lot to see because we hadn't seen each other in 4 years. It was a huge relief for me to know that Miguel was already being looked for. We just had to wait for Sebastian's men to get back to us. He slammed his lips on mine, and mine immediately responded. I pulled on his brown hair with my hands as they crawled up to it. His hands moved all over my body, and they felt great. We both pulled away from each other, trying to get the air we needed so badly. We both put our foreheads together, and I closed my eyes. Finding him will take time, but I promise we will, he whispers. I get to kill Henry, I said. We both get to, Sebastian says with a smirk. I pulled his body close to mine and scratched his cheek with my hands before kissing him. My body pushed against his, and his arms were around me. I put my legs around his body and his hand around my waist. His other hand was against my cheek. The kiss was full of desire and passion. I pushed my lips against his even harder. His tongue went into my mouth, and I moaned softly, which made Sebastian growl. He kept kissing me as he carried me from his office to his bedroom. Sebastian put us at the foot of the bed, and my lips stayed on his. I kissed him one last time and then pulled away. His lips were full and his nose was red from my kisses. His hair was messy from my fingers running through it. It was like I could see his dark, broken soul in his dark blue eyes. I've learned to love and accept him. I slowly took off the strap to my top, then the other one, while still looking at you. Sebastian looked at my naked body before slowly taking off his shirt. There was a tattoo on his chest that wasn't there before. My fingers brushed over the skull, and my eyebrows scrunched up in confusion. It's my symbol, he said quietly before kissing me again. He put me on top of his bed and lay on top of me. One of his hands gripped my thigh and pulled it up against his side, while the other held my neck gently. Sebastian's lips weren't moving quickly or roughly against mine. They were moving slowly, as if he were enjoying the moment. His lips then moved down my neck, which made me moan deeply. I started to get worried. This doesn't feel right all of a sudden. I still wore the ring even though he was a crazy person who kidnapped my unborn son. I loved Henry. Shouldn't I be sad that he's crazy? Shouldn't I feel like I'm broken? I took off my ring and put it on the nightstand next to me. Sebastian watched me do this. What if Sebastian hurts me again? I was so scared that I almost got up and left, but then I looked him in the eye. That's why I hate them so much, they make me lose my mind and everything else. I know it's bad to say this, but I feel alive when I'm with Sebastian. What's going on in that little head of yours? He asked as he hovered over me. His thumb brushed my cheek. I'm not going to go on until I hear from you. I can't stop loving him, even though it hurts me. When I touch him, my body gets warm. When I look at him, my heart races. When I talk to him, I feel better. I put my hands on his cheeks, and he looked worried. I love you, Arya. He smiles a little. Sebastian said, we can wait. I can wait until you completely forgive me. I'll wait as long as you need me to. I liked this side of him that was so vulnerable. Please let us just lay here, I said. As long as you lie next to me, he says with a smile on his lips. Sebastian falls next to me and slowly pulls the sheet up to cover my naked body. Did you feel lonely? It was a simple, random question. He looks at me and holds my gaze while he thinks of words. It was the same every day and every night. He turns away and looks up at the ceiling. The room is quiet. I thought a lot about Maya. It was all my fault, and I'm really sorry about that, Pumpkin. The world went quiet after she died. I said. We both stayed quiet for a few more seconds. I'm not very good at timing, but I need to get this out. Sebastian gets up and is naked. I liked the view of his. He has always had a nice round. He pulls up his boxers, then grabs his jeans and reaches into the back pocket to get something. He comes back to me with a smile. Arya, you taught me how to love again, something that's only brought pain and misery to me. Sebastian chuckled a little, and I sat up with the sheets around me. I hurt you really bad, and I'll never forgive myself for that. He bit his bottom lip and looked down. It was the hardest thing I've ever done to leave you in that damn house. It took so much to leave you. But I did it to keep you safe from this way of life and from me. And I also wanted to learn how to be a man worthy of you. He says this to finish. He stopped for a moment before looking back up at me. His eyes were full of feelings. Sebastian says, I'm hard to deal with and cold-hearted, but I can't be heartless with you. You made me who I am today, and I'll always be thankful for that. Tears ran down my face. This is all I've ever wanted. What the hell is he doing? He gets on one knee. He takes a small box out from behind him and opens it to show a beautiful diamond engagement ring. I love you ton, Arya Callahan. Will you marry me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so many things were going through my mind. Was I really ready to let go of all the pain he had caused me? I looked down at the box that held my future. This one ring could change my whole life. Boss, we found them, Caleb says as he bursts in with a computer in his hands. I held the sheets tightly against my body. Caleb's jaw clicked angrily when he saw me. Caleb was with Sebastian the whole time, and every day I missed him. I thought he left to get away from this business, but he was just a coward and left Sebastian behind. He looked at me, then turned his head to look at Sebastian. Your son means that Arya is the mother. He moves closer to Sebastian. Sebastian stood up and walked forward, just like Caleb had. Yes, he said, and then he stopped. Can you all stop and tell me where my son is? I stood up, still holding the sheets tightly around me. Caleb scoffs and then looks back at me, looking disgusted. He doesn't have the right, he left me when I needed him most as a friend. He chose his job over his sister. Maya would be very upset with him. Caleb says, Henry has been keeping Miguel in a warehouse right off the shore. Great. Let's go. I smiled and tried to walk to the door, but Sebastian pulled me back by the arm. Pumpkin, you're forgetting that you're naked and we need to hear the plan first, Sebastian whispers. Keep going, he says to Caleb. Before looking back at us, Caleb types something into the computer. Caleb says, Henry Benerick is a trained hitman, which means he works for someone higher, like Sebastian. We don't know who, but it's someone who's making Henry do all their dirty work. Sebastian asked, how did we not know this? Believe me, he didn't want us to know, but for some reason he let us find out. That's why he knew so much about guns, about combat, and about me. I said to myself. Henry never signed the papers for that marriage. This has been his plan all along. My best guess is that he wants Sebastian to suffer, and the best way to do that is to mess with the women he loves and his child. Caleb's voice gets deeper when he says women he loves, which is clear that he was uncomfortable. I don't blame him. That said, get ready. I have men picked out just for this. Caleb turns to the door. Thanks, Caleb. He says this before both men nod at each other. After that, Caleb left the room, leaving Sebastian and me alone. Sebastian just asked me to marry him a few minutes ago, and the awkwardness was killing me. I'll have an answer for you after we get Miguel, but right now I just want to focus on getting our son back, I said. Sebastian's jaw tightened before he nodded. I need to talk to some people, get ready, and meet me in the living room. He was about to leave when he turned around and kissed me. I kissed him back. He told his housekeeper to get me some clothes. I went to the living room after I was done because I heard voices coming from there. I saw men getting ready and women getting weapons when I turned the corner. I gulped. I've never really met Sebastian's gang. I saw Caleb sitting on the couch and putting a gun behind his jeans. Why was Caleb getting dressed? I went over to him. I asked, "What are you doing?" Everyone looked at me for a second and then turned away. He looked at me in shock. He laughs and then grabs an even bigger gun. He straps it over himself and stands up to meet me. Getting dressed? He says quickly. I know that, but why? You're not coming. I crossed my arms over my chest. I don't want to lose Caleb because he is the only thing I have of Maya. My best friend would kill me if I let him put himself in danger because he has a daughter who will miss him. Listen, Arya. I'm the underboss, which means I'm second in command. My job is to keep Sebastian and his family safe, even if it means dying, Caleb whispers. What? You took the position, how could you? I pushed against his chest, and he fell back a little, but his face stayed the same. Caleb signed his life away. He won't be able to see Amara again without putting her in danger. You didn't think about Amara. I pushed his chest again, but he grabbed my wrist before I could do it again. Amara? He asked. He didn't even know his daughter's name, he never asked about her or Nina. Your daughter? My voice was full of anger. You never even checked on her, I said quietly. His face didn't change. I hate to ruin your dreams, but we both know who's going to take over the Black Skulls, and it's not you. I said in a harsh whisper. Caleb's eyes flashed with rage, and his jaw clicked like it always does. I saw Sebastian standing on top of the stairs out of the corner of my eye. His eyes met mine, then they moved down to my wrist. I pulled my wrist out of Caleb's grip and walked away from him. I can't even stand next to Caleb because he makes me sick. Get Miguel and kill anyone who tries to stop us, Sebastian yells, getting everyone's attention. He tells everyone who seems okay with everything, no one kills Henry, the bastard is mine. They don't even care that they're risking their lives for my child, who isn't even related to them. Everyone starts to leave, and I walk over to Sebastian, who is currently loading up on weapons. I need to let you go, Sebastian, I said quietly. His back muscles tightened against his black t-shirt, which fit him perfectly. I'd give my life for my child any day. I just don't want him to think otherwise. He slowly turned around, and his lips fell into a thin line. He suddenly took my hand and slipped the engagement ring on my finger. I don't need an answer right now. I just want you to wear it, just in case. I told Sebastian, he wants me, not you. Nothing is going to happen to you. Please just wear it, he begged. I quickly nodded in response. Caleb yells from outside, we should go before it gets too late. I saw Sebastian's eyes, and in a second, his lips were on mine. Sebastian was already out the door when we pulled back. I quickly followed with a question stuck in my head. It seemed like he was keeping something from me. When I got outside, I saw Caleb's eyes and everyone else seemed ready. What is he putting everything on the line for? He doesn't have to. Then I looked back at Sebastian. It was hard to see two men I love fighting for my son, knowing that one of them could die. Who am I willing to lose? I'm sorry, but none. Let's go, Sebastian says to them. Caleb and two other guys got in the car with Sebastian and me. Sebastian started to drive, and I looked back at the house we were leaving. Will I come back? I pushed that thought out of my mind. I couldn't help but think that I was made to lose people. That's all I've ever known. I lose people just like Sebastian does. Caleb took out a small laptop and held it up for Sebastian to see quickly. Sebastian steps on the gas pedal to make the car go a lot faster. He's on to us. What does that mean? I asked, and my voice sounded hoarse. Sebastian says, we might be walking into a trap. I can't let these people risk their lives for me and my child. If anyone should risk their life, it should be me. I blinked away the tears that were welling up in my eyes. Sebastian, you have to make the exchange. I told him, and his hands tightened around the wheel. I swallowed the big lump in my throat. Are you crazy? He'll kill you, Arya. Caleb's voice came from the back, making me look at him. I have no choice, I'm not going to put you guys at risk because of my mistake, I yelled. I owe Maya that much. She would hate me if something happened to you. Caleb just looked at me. He knows I'm right. I look back at Sebastian, who is still quiet. That's it, we're not doing the exchange. I didn't say anything, I just turned around and looked out the window. The car finally stopped, and when I looked out the front, I saw a warehouse. The other 5 cars also stopped, and everyone got out with guns and other things. I took my gun and put it behind my jeans. Then I took the strap that went around my thigh and held my knife. Sebastian told Caleb, you stay with Arya. You follow her everywhere. If there's a bullet, I want you in front of it. I turned to Caleb, who nods. Was he crazy? I glared at Sebastian, who had just told Caleb to put his life on the line for mine. No, I said to Sebastian. It's his job, he says quickly before walking away with his men. I turned around and looked at Caleb before following Sebastian. Sebastian has men all around the building, so no one can get out. I didn't go through the front door with Sebastian, instead, I found a staircase that led to another door. Caleb followed me up the stairs. He whispers, yells, "What the hell are you doing?" when I open the door. I slowly crept inside with my gun in my hand. Taking a different route. "We need to see everything from a higher point of view," I whispered back. We got in safely. I chose the best way because it gave me a view of everything and was in a different room. We both crept over to the window and bent down next to it. I carefully looked, and Henry's men were lined up. I saw Henry with his dirty hands on my son's shoulders. Henry was talking, but I couldn't hear him. I looked over at Caleb, who was shaking his head quickly. He already knew what I was thinking, so I quickly smiled, left the room, and locked the door behind me so he couldn't follow me. Caleb came into view through the window and mouthed, "Open the door." I shook my head. I wasn't going to let him out just so he could put his life in danger for me. I stayed low while I watched them by the railing. Miguel was tall and looked strong. It's crazy to see my own flesh and blood. Henry tells my son, "You have to do it, Miguel." I could hear them perfectly now. Henry's voice was deep and scary. "Yes, father," Miguel said. His voice was very low and broken. He didn't sound like a 4-year-old, he sounded like a soldier. I could hear his pain. He called Henry father, which means he must think Henry is really his dad. A door opened from the bottom, and I couldn't see who it was. I crawled to my left, where I would be much more visible, but that's okay. What? Sebastian was being held against his will. That wasn't part of the plan, damn it. They threw him on the floor, right in front of Miguel. Sebastian raised himself halfway up before stopping. He must have seen Miguel. Henry tells his men to chain him. Sebastian gets chained up because they follow his orders. Think about Arya. Oh my God, Henry pointed his gun at Sebastian's head. Sebastian wasn't scared, he was as calm as ever. Henry spits out, "This man is your pathetic biological father." Miguel looked back at Sebastian, as if he were trying to understand that Sebastian was his dad. "Father, please stop," Miguel begs through his tears. Henry stiffened and lowered the gun. He stopped paying attention to Sebastian and started paying attention to Miguel. "No, don't touch my child. Please, God." Henry hit Miguel in the face, and he fell to the ground. "I didn't raise little boy." Henry kicked Miguel on the floor. I shot my gun up at the ceiling without thinking, and it got their attention right away. "Touch my kid again, I dare you," I yelled, pointing my gun at him. Henry raised his gun, which was now aimed at Sebastian. "Pull the trigger, and Miguel will see his dad die," Henry says with a smirk. "Don't do it, Arya." "Leave," Sebastian yells, and one of Henry's puppets punches him in the face. Someone grabbed me from behind and held me tightly. Henry's guys started to pull me down the stairs to them. Miguel coughed up blood when I got close. I tried to get close to comfort my son, but they wouldn't let me. "Not so fast, honey," Henry says with a wicked smile. They put tape around my hands and tied them behind my back. I was kicked to the ground and fell to my knees. They took Sebastian down from the chains, taped him up, and kicked him to the ground. Henry bent down to my level, but I was mostly looking at Miguel. I wanted to check on him. Henry grabbed my cheeks and made me look at him. Henry pointed to my son and said, "Isn't he beautiful? My sister Beth sure had a good time with him," he said, licking his lips. "No. I was so angry that I leaned back and hit my head against his." Henry yells, "You peesh," as he gets back up. He held his head in pain, and I laughed. Honestly, that hurt like hell. I yelled angrily, "You're a horrible person. You'll burn in hell for what you've done to my son." I didn't even see it, but Miguel was already standing up. His nose was bleeding, and there was a deep cut on his cheek from where Henry punched him. When I saw his eyes, they softened. He looked just like Sebastian. Miguel slowly walks towards me, and my heart skips a beat when his tiny hand touches my cheek. I couldn't help but cry, it was real. "Mommy," he says softly. That word makes my heart melt. Henry pulls him back to his side, which means I can't enjoy the only time I have with my son. Henry gave him a gun, and I tried to move against the tape, but it didn't work. Henry mumbles, "Miguel, I want you to kill them." Miguel's face showed fear, and his eyes started to fill with tiny tears. "Don't do this, Henry. What do you want? Is it my business? I'll give you everything, just don't make my kid kill us," Sebastian yells. He also wiggles against the tape. Sebastian knows what it's like to be haunted by the past. He didn't want Miguel to have to deal with the death of his parents. Henry laughs. Henry says, "Before my son kills you both, I want to introduce you to someone." A woman walks in with a coat tightly wrapped around her body, which makes her face look darker. I squinted my eyes to try to figure out who it was, but I couldn't. She got closer to Sebastian. When she stopped in front of him, she pulled down the hood to show her face. "Miss me, my sweet little Sebastian," the woman says in a flirty voice. I thought she would be prettier, or maybe even younger. Sebastian whispers, "Mom," in disbelief. Is that his mum? I thought he killed everyone in his family and set their house on fire. My eyes filled with shock, this was so messed up. "Why you're sup? Yes, I'm supposed to be dead." His mom finished his sentence for him, which made me even more confused. "After I burned down the house and you thought I was dead, I had to run away. Because of you, I thought I killed you all. You made me think I killed my own sister. No, she's dead, but I killed her. Your dad was angry and you were unconscious, so I did it. She was going to take over the business and leave you with nothing. My son, you were made to be powerful and feared." His mum said as she brushed his hair back. "She was your daughter, your only daughter." His voice was so broken. "She wasn't mine, she was the result of your father's affair. That deserved to be raped by your dad, she deserved it all," his mother yells. This woman sounded insane. "This is all insane, she was alive the whole time." Sebastian became cold-hearted because he thought he had killed his whole family and blamed himself. "Henry is also your brother, so you should know that. Your dad wasn't the only one cheating," she said. I couldn't believe it when I heard this. What the hell? I was having sex with Sebastian's crazy brother and didn't even know they were related. Sebastian's mom walked over to Henry, and he stepped back to let her be in front. This was his boss, and she planned everything. She wrapped her old hands around my son, and I pushed forward. "Don't touch my kid, you crazy!" I yelled. She laughs and says, "He's my grandson, and I need someone ruthless to run my business. That's exactly what your son will become." Then she whispered in Miguel's ear, "Now, Miguel, kill them." Miguel shakes as he moves towards Sebastian. I turned to look at them, and Sebastian's face showed no fear. I told my son, "Miguel, don't do it, Miguel." Sebastian's mum smiles and says, "Then this is all over and we can go home." Miguel's little arm goes up, and the gun is aimed right at Sebastian. His little arm shakes violently, and I watched in horror. I heard Henry say, "Do it." "I'm sorry," Miguel says. Bang! Sebastian's body fell to the ground, dead. I cried and felt empty. Miguel stood there with snot running down his nose, and his little body shook violently. I couldn't breathe, and my head hung low. Before I could look up, there were a lot of gunshots. I rolled over to my side and saw Miguel curled up in a ball with his hands over his ears. I felt hands behind me taking off the tape. It was Caleb. "I'm sorry," he says, looking at Sebastian's body. He gives me a gun, and I turn around to see Miguel is gone. I look at the door and see Sebastian's mom taking my son again. My body ran over to Sebastian's without me thinking about it. He was still taped down, so I bent down next to him, ripped the tape off, and flipped him over. I put my head on his chest and held on to his shirt as I cried. "Sebastian, please. I love you," I said. "Pumpkin, I love you too." I looked back up at him and saw those blue eyes looking at me. What the hell? I'm really going crazy. Sebastian unbuttoned his shirt to show off his bulletproof vest. This was his plan all along, the jerk. I hit his chest with my hand over and over until he caught my wrist. He slammed his lips against mine, and I kissed him back with the same enthusiasm. "Miguel, what the hell? Your mom took Miguel," I yelled. I didn't even give him time to answer, I just ran to the door she had come through. The bright sun made me squint, and I ran as fast as I could. Sebastian was behind me, trying to keep up. We got to a cliff, and Sebastian's mom was at the very edge with Miguel's neck in her arm and the gun pointed right at his head. I slowed down and stopped completely, and Sebastian did the same. So the devil lives on for another day. Sebastian's mom laughs before squeezing Miguel's neck tighter, which makes him whimper. "Mom, let him go. He's your grandson," Sebastian says. "Learn how to speak Italian, for crying out loud." "Please let him go," I begged her. She looked back at me, and her eyes were studying me. She smiles, but it's an evil smile. "I can see why Sebastian liked you, you're just like her, and you look like her too." "Deborah, she's talking about his sister," Sebastian says angrily. "Mama, I love Arya for who she is. Not because she looks like my sister." "You're sick in the head." What he says makes my heart melt. My mind was almost at peace until I remembered that she's holding my son hostage on a cliff. The voice in my head kept telling me to kill her. All I could think about was death. "Let's make a deal," Sebastian's mum says to me. "You take Miguel's place in my arms, and he'll live. No, Sebastian yelled. No matter what, I'll do anything to keep Miguel safe, even if it means dying. Sebastian loves me so much that it makes him not think clearly. Miguel is still young and has a lot to learn and do. I said, it's not up to you, it's up to me. I turned around to Sebastian, who shook his head no. I held his cheeks in my hands and looked deeply into his eyes. His eyes were getting bloodshot red, and he kept shaking his head back and forth. I opened Sebastian's heart and taught him how to love. He taught me how to live and that not everything has to be perfect. I whispered so softly, yes, I'll marry you. I kiss him softly on the lips and then pull away. I turned to face her slowly, making eye contact with her at the same time. Deal, I said as I wiped my tears away. Let Miguel go first, I said. You think I'm stupid, girl? She yelled, gripping the gun tighter. Miguel started to cry because he was so scared. You have my words. Sebastian's voice was hoarse and weak. I knew Sebastian would make the right choice in the end, even if it kills me. He can't deny his love for Miguel, for his child. Just like I'm a mother, he's a father. You will always want to protect your child. She looked worried, but she let go of Miguel, who slowly walked towards me. I grabbed him and bent down to his level. He was crying and had a sad frown on his face. I wiped his tears. I told him, look at me. Miguel listened, and our green eyes met. I gently touched his cheek and kissed his forehead. It's not your fault, just remember that. I love you, baby. I took a breath and pushed him gently towards Sebastian. Arya. I heard someone yell from behind me, so I turned around and saw my mom and dad. My mom tried to run to me, but my dad stopped her by holding her waist. She punched, kicked, and twisted to get to me, but my dad held her tightly against his chest. Please, you're a mother, show mercy. My mom begged the woman who was about to kill me. My dad must have teamed up with Sebastian, and my mom came with him to save me. That's why they're both here. Mercy? That doesn't exist, she said to my mom. My mom cried in my dad's arms. I turned to look at Sebastian's mom. I moved a little closer until I was right in front of her and dodged her hand. Wait, I have a question before you kill me, I said. What's the point of this? I ask. Where a devil stands, another follows. She wants Sebastian to be ruthless again and tell Miguel about it. That's why she wanted to kill Sebastian. He fell in love and opened his heart, which she thought made him weak. I looked back at Sebastian and Miguel. He was holding Miguel in his arms. Miguel had his head between Sebastian's neck and jaw, which kept him from dying. I said to her, he won't hesitate after you kill me. Yes, but you'll be dead, and so will his heart. I felt her cold arms wrap around my neck. She turned me around so I could see them. I swallowed the huge knot in my throat and slowly reached down to my back pocket so she wouldn't notice. My dad nodded at me, as if he knew what I was going to do. I turned around quickly and stabbed her in the throat. Blood poured out of her mouth as she held on to my arms. I looked into her shallow eyes while holding her hair and the knife in her throat tightly. I pulled her head closer to my mouth so she could hear what I was going to say. I'll love my kid so much more than your sick mind wanted him to be. I pushed the knife in deeper. The Reaper will never be gone. The word Reaper gives me the creeps. She's talking about Miguel. Burn in hell, you evil. I gritted my teeth and pushed her off the cliff. I fell to the ground and threw the knife to the side. I looked down at my hands, which were painted scarlet red. I had just killed someone. My dad was now in front of me, and his hands touched mine, bringing me back to reality. My dad says, "You did what you had to do, princess." I nod. He helps me get up, and my mom hugs me right away. She smells me and combs my hair back. I hug her back, and tears start to form in my eyes. God, I really thought I was going to lose you, my mom said. I'll be fine, I said softly. We broke apart. I looked over at Sebastian and Miguel. Sebastian's face was wet from crying, and he looked broken but relieved. He was biting his lip. I walked slowly over to them and stopped just before I got to them. I threw myself into his arm and grabbed Miguel from Sebastian, holding him tightly to my chest. Sebastian held both of us as I looked at him. Sebastian kissed me slowly and passionately this time. I kissed him back with the same passion. "Arya!" my mom yelled. Damn, I forgot she was right behind us. I turned around and saw her smiling. She wasn't looking at us, she was looking at Miguel. "Can I please hug him?" "Of course." "That's your grandma," I said. He looked at her like he was trying to figure out if she was mean or not. It was sad to see him so scared to talk to someone. I walked over to my parents with Miguel in my arms, and when we got there, Miguel threw himself at her. As she cried into his neck, my mom wrapped both of her arms around him. My dad was standing right next to her and looking at Miguel with interest. "Looks like he has the Callahan gene," my dad said, pointing to Miguel's green eyes. "Beat that, Sebastian." Sebastian rolled his eyes in a funny way. My dad kissed Miguel's forehead, and he did the same to my mom. Sebastian says, "Thank God I called your dad for help." I nodded. "I'm here." We all turned to see Caleb pointing his gun at the air. He looked confused at first, but then he understood. "God, he is already dead." He huffs. "Yeah, you're a little late," I said with a laugh. "That's it for sprinting." Caleb says in a dramatic way, "I need to sit down, my blood pressure is probably high now." Everyone laughs. Sebastian says, "Caleb, you are in perfect health." "Okay, doctor." Everyone laughed. I looked Sebastian in the eye. He finally looked at peace with everything. He seemed happy that he didn't kill his family or his sister. He isn't a monster, he thought he was for half of his life. I can't imagine not having my mum or dad. I'll never be able to understand that part of Sebastian's life because I've never been through it. There is a reason for everything. Let's go home. I was afraid to leave Miguel alone for even a few minutes. I needed to get some fresh air, but I didn't want to be away from him. I put a blanket around me and went out to the balcony. I felt the cool air on my cheeks and looked out at the lights of the city. I looked down at my ring. Yellow sapphire is my favorite diamond. It's a nice night out. Caleb stood next to me and looked out at the city. "Yeah." Caleb says, I need to say I'm sorry for something. I turned around and raised my eyebrow. I'm definitely confused about how I feel about Caleb right now. Every problem you've had, I thought you wouldn't be able to get through it. Caleb faced me head on, and I did too. He ran his hand over his chin and then put it back down to his side. You just did. I turned my head so that I was looking away from him. I don't have that much strength, I said softly. Caleb said in a very serious voice, you are stronger than you think you are. Caleb has always been able to make me feel better with just his words. Not many people can do that. Sebastian gave me back my freedom, and I even got a cool tattoo out of it. Caleb showed off his Code of Silence tattoo on his arm. My fingers moved over it, and a smile came to my lips. Caleb says, I want you to come with me. I put my hands back at my sides. Caleb then pulled them into his and lifted them just below his mouth. Arya, just think about it. We can leave all of this behind, move to Louisiana, and start a family. I don't care if Miguel isn't mine, I'll love him like he's my own. We'll finally be at peace. My eyes quickly moved to his. I thought about what he just said. If I leave with Caleb, I'll have a normal life without worrying about who might die next, but I'll never see Sebastian again. I can't have both Caleb and Sebastian. I could hear Maya's voice in my head saying, it's time, pumpkin. I've loved my little sister's best friend my whole life. I put our hands down and rubbed circles on his wrist with my thumb. Caleb says, you're not coming, before I could. I shook my head. I swear I care about you, Caleb, but, Caleb finished my sentence before I could. You love him. I could see the pain in his eyes, and it makes me feel terrible that I was the one who caused it. I nodded my head again. He moved closer to me, and the air from his breath blew against my cheeks. He ran his thumb across my cheek, and I closed my eyes and then opened them again. I can't lie and say I'm happy. I love you, pumpkin. I always will. You were my first love, my first everything. I know. You were too, I say. Caleb laughs softly. That little boy in there is lucky. He has a great mum and dad who love him very much. I laugh too, then I stand on my toes and kiss his cheek gently. Be careful, Caleb, I said quietly. See you later, Arya. Caleb goes out the door in the opposite direction from me. I looked up at the sky and saw that the stars were brighter than the sun that had been up a few hours earlier. I thought Maya was smiling at me, like she was happy that her brother was finally getting away from all of this. I couldn't agree with her more. I went inside when it started to get cold. I locked the sliding door behind me. When I turned around, I saw Sebastian in the bathroom trying to clean up his cuts. When I walked over to him, he looked surprised to see me. Shouldn't you be with Caleb, pumpkin? He asked. I can't stop you from being with him, but all I ask is that you let me have a relationship with my son. I looked at him to see if he was telling the truth. Did he really think I would go with Caleb? I didn't kill your mother just so I could start a family with someone else, Sebastian, I said. Sebastian didn't say anything before answering. I was praying you wouldn't. It looks like God heard my prayers. Sebastian smiles. I smiled back and rolled my eyes before grabbing his wrist. I put him on the toilet, took the cloth from his hand, and carefully dipped it in alcohol before gently wiping his cuts. Sebastian didn't say much as he looked over my body, as if he were trying to give me time to think about whether or not I really wanted this. I know for sure now that Sebastian is what I want. I think my mum didn't say anything when she saw us kiss before because she knew all along in a really strange way. I wish Sebastian and I had met in a different way, but we didn't, and I was okay with that. I stopped cleaning his wounds and put my hand on his bare chest. You're a terrible person. You kill, you hurt, you ruin things. But I can't help but feel most alive with you. His eyes slowly found mine, and I was out of breath after my speech. I love you, Sebastian. No matter who you kill or hurt, I'm always going to love you. He didn't say anything, which scared me a little. Why wasn't he answering? No, he does love me. His chest started to rise and fall, which made it look like he was having trouble. He calmed down and then took my small hand in his big one. Arya, that ring on your finger isn't just any ring. It was my sister's ring from her first boyfriend. She loved him more than anything else, and she told me to give it to the girl I love the most. Deborah was just like you, which might be why I was so mean to you at first, he says. I think she brought you into my life to show me that love isn't just a word, and what my parents had wasn't love but abuse. He looked deep into my eyes without a hint of coldness, and his words were full of truth. I was scared to let you in because I knew I'd fall for you, and in my line of work, it's dangerous to love someone, but I'd do anything for you and your mother. He looked up at me. I've loved you for a very, very long time, and that's the point. I smiled and wrapped my arms around his neck gently. Sebastian's arms went around my waist. I felt safe and loved in his arms. He was never defined by the word devil. Love defines him. I am completely happy with my life, I have everything I ever wanted and more. However, there was still one thing that worried me. As Sebastian and I held each other, we looked at Miguel, who was sleeping soundly with his brown hair covering his face. I was afraid of what would happen to Miguel in the future. I can only think of one question, and I'm sure Sebastian can too. What the hell did she call Miguel, a reaper? 5 years later, a year ago, Sebastian and I got married. I love learning new things about him every day. He's changed so much. He is a loving husband and father to 2 boys and a girl who is on the way. Today, Sebastian and I invited my family over to tell them about our baby girl. Sebastian was overjoyed to learn that I was pregnant again. He was even more overjoyed to learn that it was a girl. His little girl. Boys, you better be dressed, I yell while I set the table. It was too quiet. This place is never quiet, especially when Sebastian is supposed to be getting them ready. I shook my head and smiled. I rubbed my small hand over my growing belly as I looked down at it. Let's hope you have a father by the time you come out, baby. I went over to the boys' room. Sebastian and I decided that the boys should share a room because they used to have separate rooms but would sneak into each other's rooms at night. They are so close that they have a strong bond. I hope they welcome this little girl, their baby sister. Every week, Miguel goes to school and gets in trouble with the principal. Robert stays home with me because he is still too young. Miguel is grounded right now because he punched a kid in the face for looking at him wrong. Boys, I said, this is why we can't have family dinners. The boys were on top of Sebastian, who was on the floor. Paint was all over them. 3 minutes before my family gets here, I have bright blue paint on me. Sebastian looked up at me and gave me a sweet smile, as if he was trying to get out of trouble. The boys smiled just like he did. Every day, Miguel looks more and more like Sebastian, and Robert looks more and more like me. Robert has my personality, my green eyes, and my blonde hair. Guys, Mama and Papa will be here any second. I glared at them. Babe, it's fine, Sebastian laughs. I turned my head quickly at him. Do you think this is funny? I blame the hormones. Sebastian took a deep breath and then looked at the boys. He gave them a look that said he had a plan. The boys seemed to get what he meant because they both looked over at me. Miguel and Robert let Sebastian get off, which let him stand up. Sebastian pretended to grab the rag from behind me, but instead he rubbed his cheek, which was covered in paint, against mine. Get mommy, he yelled so the boys could hear. My eyes got big when Sebastian carefully picked me up and put me on the floor in the paint puddle. As I moved around on the floor, the boys painted me softly. Stop! I yelled, pretending to be angry. Sebastian stopped the attack right away. Everyone looked at me with fear in their eyes. I smiled and picked up the paint bottle from the floor. Then I sprayed the paint all over him. Seeing that Sebastian's eyes were the only part of him that wasn't covered in paint made me laugh. The boys then agreed with me and painted their dad more. We all attacked Sebastian. I stood on his waist and poured more paint on him. The boys were smoothing out the paint on his face. I couldn't stop laughing. I laughed so hard that I thought I might pee myself. The door next to us opened, and we all turned to see my mum and Maria standing there with their mouths wide open. I looked at Sebastian, who was also looking at me. We both turned around to look at them again, but this time we smiled. The boys did too. You'd think they'd act like adults, my mom said, crossing her arms and looking at pregnant Maria. Clean up, we'll be in the dining room. Maria laughs. As soon as my mum left, the boys burst out laughing. I laughed with them and then wiped the paint off my face with my hands. I put my hand on top of Sebastian's arm because he looked like he was in a train of thought. I asked, "Are you okay?" The boys were going to the toilet to wash up. My hand brought him back to reality. He smiled at me and stood up, then reached out his hand for mine. I took his hand and he helped me stand up. He says, "It must be hard for Maria to see your dad and mum together. I don't know what I'd do if I ever lost you." His eyes were locked on mine. Maria got married again a few years ago and is now expecting her second child with her husband. My dad and her weren't meant to be, but they love each other because they have a child together. They weren't in love with each other, though. No matter how much pain they've caused each other, my mum and dad have always loved each other. I'm not leaving you, Sebastian. You've made mistakes and paid for them. Now we get our happy ending together. I said this while leaning over and kissing his lips. He put his hand on my cheek and deepened the kiss. I love you. I love you too, I say. You. Miguel whined, and we both laughed and pulled apart. We all cleaned up, but some did a better job than others. Miguel begged to keep his shoes on, which were covered in dry blue paint. Everyone was sitting down when we walked into the dining room. Maria was sitting next to my little brother Bruce, who is her son. Mom and Dad were sitting across from them with their hands together. They all turned around when we walked in. My brother was happy to see his nephews. Robert ran over to hug Maria and Bruce, and then he hugged my parents too. Miguel stayed with me instead. He has trouble trusting even his own family. Everyone gets it and agrees with it, but I know it's hard for him. I hate that he feels that way. Hey, Miguel, I got you something. My dad takes something out of his pocket. We all took a seat. He got Miguel a gun, a freaking gun. I couldn't believe what my dad said, and neither could anyone else, not even Sebastian. Please tell me you're joking, Dad, I said. Jack, you idiot, my mum says in a whisper yell. He's 9? That's when I got my first gun. I was already training to take Grandpa's place. He should be training to take Sebastian's place. My dad said this calmly, as if he wasn't crazy. Dad, Miguel isn't supposed to hear this, I said. Thanks, Papa. Miguel jumps out of his chair and into my dad's arms. Sebastian's hand tightened around mine, and I could feel his body getting hotter. He was angry, like he was boiling. I didn't like that Miguel was happy about having a gun instead of going back to school. Sebastian tells Miguel, "You're too young to get a gun." He gives Sebastian a scary look, as if he were questioning what he said. He always says he's sorry with a sweet smile, so this is new for him. Yes, I am. Miguel yells. Sebastian yells even louder, Miguel, I am your father, what I say goes. Everyone is quiet and looks at what is about to happen. They always fight, Sebastian and him. They never seem to get along. You know what? I don't think this is a good idea anymore. My dad laughs dryly, and it stops when no one else joins in. He just looks around at everyone. My mom whispered, "You think?" My dad gulped at her tone. Miguel yells, "You're not my dad." I look at Miguel with a confused face instead of my dad. What did he mean? Robert sneaks up next to me and wraps his little hands around my neck. I lift him up onto my lap. Don't yell at me, Miguel Devereux, Sebastian says, sounding much calmer than before. Henry is my dad, he yells loudly before pulling away from my dad's arms and stomping off. I heard his bedroom door slam shut with a loud bang. It got quiet in a strange way. My defense is that I wasn't going to load the gun. My dad was the first to speak up, trying to clear his name in Sebastian's mind. Sebastian's veins were still sticking out, and he was still looking at the same spot where Miguel had been standing a few seconds earlier. I took his hand, and he slowly turned around and kissed my forehead and fight. T-rail, I made a cough. Sorry, he'll be fine. Let's just keep going. Bruce asked, Dad, can I keep his gun? I thought Maria's neck was going to break off when she looked at her son so quickly. No way, Maria says. My dad put the gun down that he was about to give to my brother. My mom and Maria both shot daggers at my dad. I wasn't going to give it to him. My dad smiles and tries to make us believe him. I tried to stay focused on the great dinner I made, but my mind kept going back to what Miguel had said. He still believes that Henry is his father. Sebastian has been trying to forget about the past because he knows it hurt him to hear that from his own son. I told everyone, it's a girl. Finally. My mom screams with joy and hugs Sebastian and me. After we found out the baby's gender, we all finished eating and cleaning up. Everyone went home, and Sebastian went back to his office to finish some paperwork. I brought Miguel a plate of food because he missed dinner. Robert was already in bed watching TV. Miguel was at his desk, looking at his pet fish. I bent down to his level and put the plate of food in front of him. "Baby, talk to me," I said in a soft voice so he wouldn't think I was mad. To be honest, I can't be mad at him. Henry did raise him for 5 years, but it was in a bad way. Kids can be confusing sometimes. "I miss him," Miguel says softly. "Miss who, baby?" I say. "My dad." "Sweetheart, he's at work." I'm pretty sure if Henry. He cuts me off in the middle of my sentence. Miguel turns his body to face mine, and I gently hold his hands. I put my finger under his chin, and our eyes met. He used to have green eyes like mine, but when he got older, they turned dark brown, which was strange because no one else in our family had brown eyes. Miguel's eyes made him stand out, but they also changed him as a person. I told him, "Sebastian is your dad, baby. Sebastian loves you so much, son. You're his pride and joy." Miguel didn't say anything, he just turned back around and went back to his desk. I stared at him hard, trying to read his mind, but it didn't work. I got up and kissed him on the forehead. I went to Robert, who was already asleep, and kissed his tiny forehead before I left. I locked their door because Robert walks in his sleep at night. I walked towards Sebastian's office. Sebastian was looking at some papers with his glasses on. Over the years, his eyesight has gotten worse, but I'm not complaining. He looks great with glasses on, like a big daddy. He was so busy reading the news that he didn't even see me in his office. He put the papers on his desk and wrapped his arms around me while I sat on his lap. "Sebastian, he didn't mean it," I said, talking about Miguel. "Sometimes things are great between us, but other times I'm just the guy who takes care of him when his real dad isn't around." Sebastian takes off his glasses and throws them on his desk with a heavy sigh. "You're a great dad, and he loves you. It's just hard for him to understand right now," I said quietly. "Who wouldn't love the great Sebastian Devereux?" I said with a wink. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, pumpkin," Sebastian says with a laugh. "Thank you for making my life so full." His hand brushes my cheek, and his eyes are blue to green as they look into mine. There was no sound as we both admired each other. Sebastian has always been beautiful, but as he gets older, he looks even better. His hair is now a mix of gray and brown, and his jawline is more defined. I moved my legs so I could straddle him, and he put his hands behind me and held them there. "Mr. Devereux, I've been a very, very bad girl," I whispered in his ear and bit his neck a little. "I need to be punished." Sebastian moved so quickly that he picked me up by the thighs and put me on his desk. We both started. He cleared everything off his desk before laying me back on it. He kissed me all over while holding my tied hands above my head. He whispered, "I'm going to break you tonight." My breathing got faster. His dirty talk was making me even more wet than I already was. "Stop talking and do it." My voice was shaky. I was so full of desire that I could barely talk. My hands kept trying to break free from the tie, but they couldn't. He moaned and moaned until he finally hit the spot, and I screamed in pure joy. He licked his lips before putting them on mine, and I could taste myself on him. He picked me up and untied my hands, only to tie them back up again, this time behind my back. "You're so hot, it's driving me crazy." He touches my neck and makes me moan. "I don't want to be able to walk tomorrow," I whispered. He hit me hard, and my hands were behind my back. As he thrusts into me, my legs wrap around his waist. "Don't stop," I said, running out of breath. His hand was around my neck, not too hard, but just right. He goes in and out of me without stopping, making it hard for me to breathe. I enjoyed every single second of it. I kept moaning and yelling, and I slowly turned my head in pleasure. He held me by the back and the leg. Every time we moved roughly, his desk squeaked. He mumbled, "So tight." At that point, we both reached our peak. I put my head on his chest. We were both out of breath and sweaty. "Does this mean we're having twins?" He laughs softly as he unties my hands. I put my hands on his chest, which was wet. "No," I said, and I laughed. "I wanted more." He says in a warm voice, "You're so beautiful." I whispered into his ear, "Thank you, Pappy." "You want me, my little pumpkin?" I gasped and bit my bottom lip. "Fill me up," I said. Sebastian kisses me and says, "I love you." He kissed me slowly and passionately, and his lips felt great on mine like they always do. "I love you more," I said between kisses. I saw the crowd come together, and my nerves were getting the best of me. Naomi made us have an outdoor wedding in December, but thank God it was snowing. I had my blonde hair pinned up in a curly bun, and some loose strands framed my face perfectly. I looked down at my wedding ring and thought about how he proposed to me a few weeks after he took my ring to have his name carved into it. "Are you ready, pumpkin?" my dad says as he walks in with my mum in his arms. My mum started to cry as she looked me up and down. The back of my ivory sheath dress was shaped like a V and came up just above me. I put on some lip gloss to make my makeup look more interesting. My mom hits my dad's chest and cries, "You look beautiful." "Doesn't she?" My mum gave him a dangerous look that told him to say something nice about me. "Of course. She looks just like you, sweetheart." My dad whispers to my mom while kissing her. I turned away to look for my mother's lacy veil. I saw it on the chair behind me, and my dad came over to me. "Can I?" my dad asks. I nodded a little, and he gently pushed a strand of my hair behind my shoulder and put the veil over my head. He put it over my face and then kissed my cheek softly. "Thanks, Daddy," I said quietly. Epilogue. Mommy. Miguel came into the room wearing his little tuxedo and slicked back hair, just like his dad's. Don't you look handsome? I laughed, and he raised his eyebrows at me. When I bent down to his level to fix his messy bow tie, his small brown eyes met mine. You look so pretty, Mommy. He whispers with a smile that shows off his little white teeth. Thank you, my baby. I kissed him on the cheek, and my parents were amazed. My mum held out her hand to Miguel, and they both went downstairs to the venue. I wasn't sure if I should do this because I was scared. Sebastian and I have been so good together that I don't want to ruin what we have because marriage changes everything. My dad could see that I was unsure, it was clear on my face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. I was confused. 1 year after Sebastian left, he sent me a letter to give to you, but that awful Henry told me not to because it would ruin your happiness. My dad gave it to me, and I gently took it with my fingers. After you read this, if you still have doubts, I'll take care of the rest. But if you're ready, I'll walk down that aisle with you. Before he leaves the room, he gives me a reassuring nod. I watch the door close. I took a deep breath before slowly opening the letter. Dear Arya, my Arya, before I met you, I was miserable every day because I didn't have what I needed to be happy. The day you told me you loved me was the scariest and best day of my life. I didn't know how to let myself love you, but I couldn't lose you. Your love showed me how happy life could make me, and that alone made me the happiest man in the world. This time, you have a choice. If you don't come to Florida, I'll leave you alone forever. But if you do come, I promise to love and cherish you for a long time. Arya, I will always be in love with you. I was crying, and all of my doubts went away. My worries seemed silly. He said he couldn't be selfish with me, so he was going to give up his love and happiness for me if it made me happy. I carefully put makeup on my nose to cover up the tears, and then I put the letter against the mirror. I was ready to marry the person I loved the most. I opened the door and saw my dad standing there with his hand out for me to grab. You knew, I said in a whisper. My dad says, I know love when I see it, and that man is very much in love with you. I smiled and grabbed his arms. When the big doors opened, my shoulders relaxed. Everyone in the crowd stood up and stared at me when the bright light came into the room. My dad and I began to walk, and I was terrified I would fall on my face, but I knew my dad wouldn't let me. I saw Sebastian as we walked in a little more. He was standing right in the middle with the priest next to him. When he saw me, his face lit up, and he opened his mouth to take me all in. I looked down shyly, with a big smile on my lips, and he still gave me butterflies. When we got to the front, my dad kissed my cheek and put my hand in Sebastian's. When his hand touched mine, it felt like my body was filling with electricity. He mouthed, I love you, as he pulled the veil off my face. I love you too. We are here today to join these two people in marriage. They did not make this decision lightly, and today they are publicly declaring their love for each other. We didn't look away, we kept looking at each other. The priest kept talking, and everything else went quiet. It was just the two of us, and my body relaxed because I knew he was there and would always keep me safe. I remember when we first met, the things we talked about, the fights we had, and the love we had. You are the reason my heart beats, and you are all I can think about. I love you, Sebastian. My eyes fluttered when I saw Sebastian again, the way he gets to love and enjoy life after everything we've been through. Yes, we do. We do. We both said it at the same time, and I could feel my chest rising and falling with the need to kiss him. I, Sebastian, promise to love and support you, Arya, every day with kindness, understanding, truth, humor, and passion. With this ring, I marry you. He takes my hand and Caleb gives him my wedding ring. He kisses my hand and then gently pushes the band onto my finger. I, Arya, promise to love and support you, Sebastian, and to love each day with kindness, understanding, truth, humor, and passion. With this ring, I wed you. I took the band from Naomi and put it on his finger. I then grabbed his tatted hand. I was waiting for the priest to tell us it was okay to kiss. God knows how badly I want his lips right now. You are now husband and wife. You can kiss the bride now. I love you, he said as he ran away. Sebastian held my cheeks and kissed me softly. I wrapped my arms around the back of his neck and kissed him so passionately that my stomach turned. He dipped me while still kissing me. I smiled against his soft lips. When his lips touched mine, everything else went away. I kissed him even harder, getting lost in the moment. Mr. and Mrs. Devereux, I now present you. The priest yells, and everyone cheers, which reminds us that we are at our wedding. We pulled away, and Sebastian raised our hands and cheered. I thought he was funny, and my mom clapped and wiped her tears away. I looked to my right and smiled at Caleb, who smiled back. It made me think of Maya. I looked up at the sky and it felt like she was right there with me. Sebastian whispers in my ear, I guess you're really stuck with me now, baby. I guess so, I said with a smile. He picked me up and spun me around, and I laughed with joy. He didn't forget about Miguel, he picked him up and spun us both around. Miguel held on for dear life, but he also laughed at how silly his dad was being. No one knew we'd be standing here married with family and friends, and Maya, after everything we went through. I can't thank her enough for saving my life. If it weren't for her, I would never have had my son. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.